Hello, Detroit and the world. Welcome to a special episode of Authentically Detroit, broadcasting live from the Audio Wave Network studios here on the Lower East Side in the city, powered by the Eastside Community Network and sponsored by none other than the Ford Foundation, now a content partner to the new BridgeDetroit.com. I'm Orlando Bailey.
And I'm Donna Davidson.
Thank you for listening in and supporting our efforts to build a platform of authentic voices for real people on the east side of Detroit. We want you to like, rate, and subscribe to our podcast on all platforms. We drop a new episode almost every week, so be sure to turn on those notifications. This is a special episode celebrating Pride Month. That's right. The month of June is Pride Month, and we have two very special guests here to help celebrate, but also to have some relevant conversation that will educate us, grow us, and even challenge us. Joining us today are Philip Johnson and Ian McCain. Philip is the founder and CEO of Philaye Films, where he serves as the primary showrunner, writer, director, producer, actor, the jack of all trades here we're talking about. He also happens to be the only son of our fave, Donna Davidson. Philip, welcome to Authentically Detroit.
Hey, what's up, Authentically Detroit? I'm happy to be here.
We're happy to have you. Ian serves as the Senior Manager of Business Development for Eastside Community Network, working primarily toward the upkeep and redevelopment of Mack Avenue. He is a recent graduate of University of Detroit Mercy, earning his master's degree in community development. Congratulations, Ian, and welcome to Authentically Detroit.
Thank you, Orlando. Happy to be here. Excited for the show.
All right, we're happy to have you. I want to acknowledge that Chelsea Stowers was supposed to join us for this special episode, but is feeling a bit under the weather, so we want to send our well wishes to her.
Feel better, Chelsea.
Feel better. I know she had to drop out at the last minute. So how's everybody doing? Donna, how you doing? How was your weekend?
My weekend was great.
Great.
Juneteenth, right?
Yeah.
So, June is a special month. It's Juneteenth, and I've been celebrating it long before it was a federal holiday. And no offense, but
don't be mad at the federal holiday.
I'm not mad at the federal holiday. I just don't want Mitch McConnell celebrating Juneteenth. Okay, as far as I'm concerned,
and
we can't celebrate
cloth.
it the same way. Because in reality, we have different approaches. Some people need to come to Juneteenth in repentance. Some people need to come to Juneteenth and stop. And some of us in remembrance of our greats. And so we had an opportunity to celebrate in remembrance of our greats. We had a great turnout here. I think we did a count, and there were 110 people.
Congratulations, ECN and Leap Coalition.
And so that was great. And I had an opportunity to, and you were there, be the keynote for Healing Between the Lines.
Listen, Professor Donna Davidson shut it down, y'all. Came through and dropped the mic and was like, deuces, I got to go. I got something else to do. I was like, dang, I want to be like her when I grow up.
We'll get to that. And then, but it's also Pride Month.
Yeah.
And next week, exactly a week from now, my black son, Philip Johnson, will be celebrating Pride Month, Juneteenth, and his birthday. So it's a special month.
Wow.
June is the
Happy
month
birthday.
for,
and Black Music Month too, right?
And Black Music
all
Month.
the stuff.
Yeah, all the stuff. So he was born at this right time. Now I was telling him, and I was walking in on this chilly day. It's so cold outside.
It's fall in the summer.
But 26 years ago, when I was expecting him to come out, and he was not trying to leave. It was like 110 degrees outside. Oh my goodness, it's so much cooler now. My feet were swollen. I could barely walk. But
it's Philip wanted to stay. He
was chilling. So
that's hilarious.
Yeah, it was good. But Orlando.
Yeah.
Let's not talk about me.
I want to talk about everybody.
How was your weekend, Orlando?
My weekend was phenomenal. And I think Donna wants me to mention that this weekend we won an Emmy Award for Best Interview and Dialogue with American Black Journal, this series that I co-produced and co-hosted alongside Stephen Henderson, Daphne Hughes, and Catherine Kelly. We won an Emmy. So I am now an Emmy award-winning journalist.
Can you tell us what you were talking about?
Yeah, so the title of the series was Do Black Lives Matter in America? And to that, we had many different subsets of all kinds of interviews. And one of the interviews that we did was, is the media getting the coverage right? As you guys remember, last summer was a tumultuous summer all across the nation and even around the world where Black Lives Matter was really on full frontal display. And I got the opportunity to interview two of my favorite journalists and one of my good friends, Kat Stafford, and Olivia Lewis, who works at Bridge Detroit, to talk about how, just from their vantage points and perspectives, how the media had been covering Black Lives Matter, the oppression that many journalists of colors feel to show up in this objective way, especially when they're covering cities that they are from, and to talk about, the reckoning that, we are all, as journalists of color, trying to induce in the institution of journalism in the United States. And so it was a great interview, obviously great enough to win an Emmy.
Yeah.
I'm on an Emmy award-winning podcast right now.
Well, not the podcast.
Well, I know, but I'm saying,
Right.
there's an Emmy award winner, so that makes the podcast Emmy.
I mean,
That's true.
we can
That's
claim
true.
we can claim Authentically Detroit to be an Emmy award-winning podcast.
You know what? I'll claim you, Orlando.
Claim it. I've been saying this, and JG coined it, and I proudly say it. And Donna, pushed back on me a little bit, but there is an Emmy on the East Side. This Emmy belongs to the East Side, in my point of view, because I would not be the journalist I am. I would not be the community developer that I am had it not been for the direct and intentional investment of Eastside residents in the neighborhoods that we serve, but also Eastside Community Network and a plethora of leaders that include Sharita Smith and James Fegan. But of course, at the forefront of that is Donna Givens-Davis and Maggie DeSantis. Direct investments and mentorship that makes me show up the way that I show up, even in the field of journalism. So this Emmy belongs to the East Side.
And you know what? With Kat Stafford being the other person that you interviewed,
Yeah.
Kat Stafford, our AP.
Yeah.
You know,
our unofficial third co-host of Authentically
exactly.
Detroit.
And Kat left the Detroit Free Press after
Yeah.
breaking news and pointing out and helping investigate some really serious issues in Detroit,
Yeah.
and went on to AP. And I can't remember what her new title is. I can't keep up
National
with her.
Race and Ethnicity Investigative Reporter for
Right.
the Associated Press.
Yes, and so yeah, that's really awesome. And she's an East Sider.
She is an East Sider. And
know.
so for that interview to be the one that the Academy wanted to honor with the Emmy Award, it just makes it that much more sweet that I was able to do that with my friend and
Yes.
longtime East Sider.
Absolutely. So, Philip was talking about it the other day. We're West Siders. We're
Yeah.
transplants. Well,
Yeah.
Philip is in LA. But when I first moved to the East Side, he did not know which way to drive, which way was east, west.
I was like, it was during college. Yeah, I was like, where are we? Like, this is so far.
Oh, you
And
sounds
now-
like a real bougie West Sider.
No, but now it's like home. I'm like, we
Legit.
were just talking the other day about how, in general, like, kind of the country slower feel of the East Side is really nice. It's nice and homey. So
And
now-
familial, right?
Yeah,
Feels like family.
it really is.
Yeah.
It is. It's so funny because we were always on the West Side, though, growing up until college. So I've gotten to experience all of Detroit now.
Yeah.
The West, the East, everything.
And we have lovingly taken you West Siders in.
Yes.
We will never let Donna Givens-Davis go.
They didn't drive us out.
And you know what? And I don't want to go. I really love this
Yeah.
community. And I was having a conversation not too long ago with Michelle Jackson and with
Yeah.
Catherine Douglas, one of our newer staff members. And they were talking about how everybody on the East Side knows everybody on the East Side.
Legit.
And I don't know if you weren't here on Saturday when the Honorable Alberta
That's
Tinsley
right.
Talabi stood up and said, I was born at this address and I'm still here.
Right. And
Catherine
she's been
Douglas
through-
is the same way. We have people who have stayed in place. West Siders don't do that. We move on up. You want to talk about move on up? We do. That's all it was. It's like, oh, I got a little more money. Let me get this. But people on the East Side really believe and connect to the neighborhoods and stay. They may move around the block, but they're going to stay on the East Side. And that's what I really love about this community is the connection.
Can I just say a word about the Honorable Alberta Tinsley Talabi and the consistent force that she has been for our community here on the East Side over on Cadillac. She has been a city council person. She has been a state representative. She founded Mack Ave, and she never changed her address. She never moved, and she continues to show up and to champion our community and to on the front lines. She's still on the front lines. And I just wanted to take a second and honor folks like Alberta Tinsley Talabi, who so often I don't think gets the recognition or the flowers that she deserves.
Yeah.
She's been our champion for a long time.
And we plan on doing something about that this year. Stay tuned. Ian, this was your first Juneteenth with us, wasn't it?
It was.
Epic, right?
So
It was an incredible celebration. It was really great. I love the speak out. In particular, I feel like for the last year and a half, right? Like we haven't really been able to get together and convene as a community. So to have all these different Eastside grassroots leaders under one roof back. Not that we haven't still been doing the work in the trenches, right. Virtually, and then now as we're getting back out into the community, but to have everyone under one roof, safely masked, socially distanced was really, really powerful and exciting. And also just to be able to offer different activities, have great food. It was really an amazing testament to the power and beauty of the Black community on Detroit's East Side. So
it was a viral sensation, Donna Givens-Davidson and Ian McCain, because I saw some clips of the celebration on Facebook. I wasn't able to make it, and I want to shout out the queen of the East Side, the self-proclaimed queen of the East Side, Eda Ford, and Nicole Perry getting down.
Right?
They were getting down.
If we had a best dressed award, the queen would have won. I said you came dressed like a queen, okay?
She did.
But this is what she posted. I wanted to share this a little bit. She said, "Look at God. We have prayed for the Lower East Side groups to unite. There is power in numbers. We are all here under one roof at Eastside Community Network. Thank you, Donna Givens-Davidson, ECN staff. Folks fooled around and let us unite. Watch our smoke."
I love her.
I love that. And that was the feeling of unity. Like, we're all getting behind. When I tell you we had people we didn't know, we had so many speakers, we ran out of time. It was so great because people came and they participated. So it was a really, really enriching experience. And, for the staff to put that on, we've been really busy. We've been doing candidate night after candidate night after candidate night. We have something else, Show Me the Money, coming up this Saturday.
I just saw that.
So the COP program, the staff don't get a rest. I had told Savannah, we have to take the burden off of you to give all of these programs because, Savannah Brewer pulled together, if you saw the space, it was transformed. If you did not know how this space would function as the Stoudemire, you saw it on Saturday.
I love it.
It was a great preview. So.
I love it. Philip, how was your weekend?
My weekend was good. It was a good weekend. Yeah, I got to roller skate the other day downtown for the first time. I'm just so glad.
Shout out to Sheepy.
Yes, I'm so glad downtown has the new outdoor roller skating because that's one of my favorite activities. So yeah, it's been a good weekend. Just Juneteenth and Pride Month and getting ready for my birthday. It's just been a good time at home. And it's my first time being in Detroit, authentically Detroit, since I think it was December or November of 2019. So it's been 1.5 years because of the pandemic. So it's just been really good to get to see everybody. And, I needed a break from the LA, just the whole LA culture. It's much more chill here. People are just, I don't know, the conversations. I love hanging with my friends and fam here. So it's been good.
That's pretty dope. I don't know if I could have gone a whole year and some change not hugging my mama. So hats off to you.
Yeah, my mental health did suffer at points probably because of it.
I need to hug my mama. And roller skate. I didn't know you liked to roller. I love roller skating.
Yes.
So one day we got to sit and talk about just the culture around that because
And I especially love outdoor roller skating as an adult. Like, I love it more than indoor. It's just the freedom. I feel like some type of bird or something.
You know what? I used to go roller skating every Friday at the Northline Roller Rink.
Yeah.
And so I consider myself to be a pretty decent skater. So one year, Camille went to visit Philip, and she went skating with him. And she talked about how she was falling down. I was laughing in my head, like, I wouldn't do that. We got to there, and these skates must have weighed 20 pounds each. I fell down in the middle of the street and had to be helped up by a stranger.
Serious?
It was the most painful. I don't know. This man must not. The women's skates were super heavy. Philip was just flowing, and I'm like barely trying to walk. I was like, did I get super weak or what happened?
Man.
It was devastating to me. But the outdoor skate culture in San Francisco where we skated was amazing.
I see Instagram videos all the time out of LA and San Francisco, and y'all be
just down the beach and stuff.
Oh,
but
like
the
on the boardwalks.
same person who designed that San Francisco outdoor roller rink actually designed ours.
Oh, nice.
And so,
wow.
Yeah.
That's really nice. Shout out to Phil Simpson, who did the basketball courts down there, another East Sider, and Sheefy McFly, another East Sider, who did the skating rink, the art installations over there. So cool.
Yeah.
So cool. All right. It's time for Fresh Off the Fresh, y'all. News that we're thinking about. If you have pieces that you want discussed on Authentically Detroit, you can hit us up on our socials at Authentically Detroit on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Or you can email us at authenticallydetroit@gmail.com. Donna, Fresh Off the Press.
Well, from my favorite, Bridge Detroit.
Yeah.
Good faith land contracts, oxymoron or an opportunity. And this is by Karen Ann Kling and Ellen Zweiback.
So familiar. Weren't we just having a conversation about this?
People keep acting brand new. Like, we would not have homes if not for land contracts.
That's
Black
right.
folks got homes because of land contracts.
And some white folks. Talk to Eric DeWicki on the east side.
That's true. But,
Yep.
but black folks didn't have anything but
That's
a
right.
land contract because FHA was not lending.
Yep.
And so, my grandparents, that's how they had houses, okay, land contracts.
Yeah.
There's somebody who purchased a house from my grandparents and sent over the deed paperwork. And I'm like, they had this, and my grandmother bought it by land contract and sold it by land contract.
Right.
Just to clarify,
Yeah.
the land contracts were the way. And I know that there's a lot of people who say, well, we talked about last week,
Yeah.
a 30-year mortgage with 3% interest, and that's really great. But the reality is that we had so much predatory lending in the black community that's why we all lost our homes. And so to pretend like a mortgage is the answer and a land contract is inherently predatory, it is not the instrument by which you purchase a home. It is the contract, the form of the contract. And in Detroit, as this article points out, this is actually National Homeownership Month, right? In Detroit,
In June, God.
there are several.
Everything is in June. This is the best month,
overwhelming,
clearly.
right?
Summer begins.
Right. But in there are several nonprofits that have been acquiring, rehabbing,
Absolutely.
and selling homes via land contract. And the only thing I'll say is it's time for our public policy to catch up to what we've been doing on a nonprofit front. Why is it the city, that HUD, that the state is not investing in our capability of doing that? It's the easiest way.
It is.
Banks
And
don't
accessible.
want poor people, okay? Banks do not want to deal with
Or
people.
anything under 70 grand.
That's right. Banks don't want to touch it. So are we creating an entire class of untouchable people to be housed? So I think it's just super important. As as I was looking at this, I had to go back and review a couple articles that help put all of this in perspective, that racial predatory loans fueled the U.S. housing crisis.
Yeah, from the 90s up into the 2000s, subprime mortgages,
Right.
primarily in black communities.
Now, they say racial predatory loans because we don't call people racist unless we know their hearts. But racial predatory loans fueled the U.S. housing crisis. Not land contracts, racial predatory loans.
Yeah.
There are definitely predatory people who operate in Detroit's ecosystem.
Right.
Purchasing
On land
lands from the land,
contracts.
basically purchasing homes that are taken from black people who lost their homes to tax foreclosure or mortgage foreclosure.
Whenever,
Purchasing at auction and then putting people in a predatory contract. So we need to have rules. We need to have
that was going to be my
laws in our
question. What
state.
does the policy infrastructure look like, or what is the recommendation for a new policy infrastructure that sort of chips away at the predatory nature, which is why land contracts always get this kind of reaction, right? Of, the land contract landscape in the state.
For example, you don't need an appraisal to do a land contract.
Mm-hmm.
You don't need a home inspection to do a land contract. And the land contract language can be written in a way that really disadvantages the purchaser.
Yeah.
But that's a law.
Yeah.
Change the laws. Don't
That's
get
right.
rid of land contracts. What a land contract empowers the owner to do is to sell their property when the bank will not come in.
Yeah.
And there's many neighborhoods, and I'm not going to say most because I don't know if that's true anymore, but there's many neighborhoods in Detroit that banks don't touch because there has not been a mortgage sale. And the way our real estate industry is rooted, it's rooted in appraisals. And appraisals are rooted in prior activity. And all of that is rooted in racism.
And racism, I was getting ready to say, are we getting to the racism
right.
part?
So the only
because we're
alternative-
undervalued.
That's right. We're undervalued. And the reason we're undervalued is because we used to be undervalued. So let me see if I have this straight.
Yeah, come on.
Okay. Racism suppressed housing values in black communities. And the appraisal industry looks at prior housing values to establish future housing values.
Comps.
Okay.
They call that comps.
Yes, they call those real estate comps. And you have to have 3 of them. And the way they're written, you could have a house in Detroit that is across the street on Mack from Grosse Pointe Park. But it doesn't matter because the real estate rules say that Grosse Pointe Park comps cannot count in Detroit. So it reifies, it reinforces racist public policy, and therefore we're left with, these housing values that don't increase and unbankable neighborhoods.
Mm-hmm. Can I just put a key in here and say this as well? Because I hear somebody saying, well, it's because that we don't have the same public amenities or the same school systems and, things like that. I want to point to the research that Dr. Andre Perry has done at Brookings, and he controlled for black neighborhoods and white neighborhoods with the same stature of public amenities, housing structure and value and all of that. And still, black assets were devalued if you control for all of those other factors. So
yeah, I mean, if you want to pretend racism doesn't exist, you can come up with any kind of excuse. But what I would say is we don't have the same public amenities because of racism. Period. We don't have housing values because of racism. And the way it works is segregation. Yeah. The reason those people left Detroit and moved to those communities was to create public schools that where they were able to hoard their wealth and opportunity and keep it away for our kids. So I think it's a great opportunity for us as a community to really look and say, how can we convey homes to people? Banks have sold people that the American dream is a mortgage, and I'm not convinced of that, okay? Mm-hmm. My dream
or millennials. Millennials ain't convinced of that either.
Exactly,
right now,
and banks are trying to figure it out. Have you heard the latest? Joe Biden has gone from saying he's going to excuse some student loan debt to he's not going to count student loan debt against getting a FHA mortgage. So now you can get an FHA mortgage because they're going to look at your debt differently. It's like, dude, release the debt. Release the debt. People have whole mortgages in student loans. So how you can buy a house and your student loan is a whole mortgage payment?
It really is. And we've been saying this when we were on Zoom recording this show, even during the election. We have to remain vigilant in keeping our elected officials accountable, because Joe Biden also said something the other day that really it threw me. He said on Twitter, the middle class built this country. And I'm like, just stay vigilant, y'all. Stay vigilant.
He said that during his campaign. We just didn't have good choices. He was saying that during his campaign. Sometimes he says things that are so tone deaf. It's like up to us on a policy front to keep on demanding more. It is not my responsibility to praise and love our leaders. It is my responsibility to challenge them to do a good job, because injustice is here.
Mm-hmm. So I know you also wanted to link that article to a Brookings report about reparations.
That's right. Why we need reparations for Black Americans. Same story. We need reparations. Centuries of injustice, housing injustice ever since, the FHA and whatever. I mean, even before then, just injustice. And so we need reparations. And until we have reparations, we're going to end up in an unequal state. And the only thing we have to even bring us closer to equal is land contracts and other tools that take the power away from the banks and put them in the hands of the people, and then fix the laws at the state level.
Yeah.
Okay, what do you have?
Fresh off the press, Whitmer reopens state. Our pure Michigan summer is back, she says. This is Kristen Jordan Seamus and Dave Boucher at the Detroit Free Press reporting. So today on Belle Isle, the same site where we memorialized over 1,500 fallen Detroiters due to COVID, the governor, the lieutenant governor, and the mayor, and the chief medical officer for the state announced that all COVID restrictions have been uplifted and we are back to normal and pure Michigan is back. This is concerning to me on a couple of different fronts. One, because if you remember early on, Detroit was a national hotspot, and Donna and I, as well as so many other families, experienced the loss of friends and family, and it's still to this day pretty palpable for us. But we have a full vaccination rate in the city of Detroit at only 36%.
That's optimistic. That's the first shot.
So it may be even lower. I'm trying to figure out what changed from what has changed and what indicators are we looking at to say that in a city like Detroit with a vaccination rate probably under 30% or at 30%, that it is safe for us to fully reopen up and go back to society, where in the beginning of this pandemic, we experienced so much loss, unlike other cities in America. what happened? What changed? What's going on here? I don't get it. I'm confused.
I think people are getting so restless. They're just like, you know what? I would rather just experience everything I can now than be in the house another second. I think people were going, I don't know. I think people are just going crazy at home. So now it's been impossible. I know they said there's a Delta variant that's spreading now. So I'm just hoping for the best at this point for myself and all my loved ones.
But your loved ones, for the most part, are vaccinated.
Right.
But you know, I mean, in the family, you know, we took it seriously in our extended family.
That's why I didn't see you all, because a lot of people saw their families this past 1.5 years. They saw vacations. They saw Mexico. I saw no one.
I know your mama wasn't playing. I wasn't playing either.
She wanted me to come back, and I was like, no, I'm not trying to get all of you sick like that.
You know, well, there was fires. Remember, there was all those fires.
Oh yeah, I remember that. It was. I remember
the smoke.
There's just always fires and earthquakes at this point. I don't even realize when it's happening.
Your mother was very concerned at that time. I remember that.
Yes.
But how are y'all gonna act? Like, y'all wearing masks still in public? What y'all doing? Like, how are you?
You know, listen. Couple things. One, I want to talk about the variant.
Okay.
In Florida, there was this building in Florida. You know, nobody wears masks in Florida. Nobody has to, vaccinated, unvaccinated. 6 people got COVID.
Mm-hmm.
2 of them died.
Ooh.
3 of them are extremely sick.
Ooh.
The one who didn't get it is the only one who was vaccinated. That's the reality. Is that people want to act like they're not sure the vaccine protects you, but the vaccine protects you, okay? In very rare cases, like you're talking about the 0.001 cases, that's the same number of people who win the lottery, and I haven't won the lottery, so I'm not planning on catching. So do I feel relatively safe? Yes. Do I feel as though I took that they took precautions? I know more about the virus. I really want to educate people about the vaccine.
Because there's a lot of misinformation out there.
There is. We had a vaccine clinic here. The health department.
Where's the bell? Courtney, give us a bell. Y'all were vaccinating people here?
No, not one person went in there to get a vaccine.
Oh, don't give us a bell.
We had 100. You keep the bells. We had 110 people. No sound effects. 110 people showed, and not everybody had vaccines. I know of at least one person who was so scared they just wouldn't do it, and so that's where I see us coming in and helping to alleviate that fear. Because I agree, Philip, you're right. People do want to come back out. You're not putting me back in the house. I'm enjoying people. Okay, I miss people. I love coming to work. I never used to love. Well, I did love coming to work.
Right. I'm like, don't
but
say
I didn't
that.
necessarily love leaving home in the morning. I wasn't excited in the morning, like, "Ooh, I'm about to be at the office." But now I actually feel that palpable excitement of me being able to see people. It's like going to the club. You know, you get to say, "Hey, what's up?" Make jokes. You know, small talk.
It's part of the human experience. I feel like the pandemic has really opened our eyes to just the basics of the human experience, like just exchanging energy, exchanging love, and like helping each other in those ways. So yeah, spending time together is good, but we got to be careful still.
It was hard for us extroverts. I'm telling you, like I get my energy from people. I love being around people. I'm a social creature.
Really?
It was right. It was so hard. It was so hard. Yeah. So yeah. All right. So we're being careful now that the state is reopened. That's a consensus.
Yes, be careful. And if you haven't been vaccinated, get vaccinated. You don't know anybody, all the little stories you've told, everybody I know knows somebody, at least one person, who has passed away as a result of COVID. I don't know of anybody who really knows anybody who passed away as a result of this vaccine, okay? Mm-hmm. I know I've heard all the urban legends. This man was perfectly healthy one day. He had the vaccine, and then he died. And that may have happened. He may have been on his deathbed anyway. We don't know. You don't know because people, unfortunately, some people just suddenly die. And I'm not trying to minimize the harm of that, but I am trying to say that trying to correlate that to a vaccine and act like that's a trend is not a thing. What's a thing is people get sick, and even when people recover, there are lingering issues that many people experience. So I don't want people to think this is not like the cold where you go back to where you were before. Some people have lingering issues, and some of them are more serious than others. You hear about some people who are still needing a lot of help just, going about their daily lives. So please take it seriously. Young people, you are not immune. Remember when they used to say, early in the pandemic
Young
that black
couldn't
people
get it.
couldn't get it.
Right.
I love those were
Because
the
of the-
best 3 days of my life. I was like, wow, I'm really not gonna get the virus. Like I believed it. I don't know why. I really did.
Remember, I couldn't even get a test. I couldn't get a test because I wasn't high risk, and I was
Yes.
too. It was insane. The other thing that I want to admonish our listeners to do is, all of those precautions that we learned during the COVID-19 pandemic in terms of washing our hands, respecting people's personal space, and sanitize. Keep doing that. Y'all wash your hands still. Y'all respect people's personal space. The last thing that I'll say about this too, as we come back, and I read an article or a blog somewhere that says, it's going to be difficult for some people as we come back because we are going to take precaution as, a microaggression. Some people still aren't ready to hug. Some people still aren't ready to shake your hand. Don't see it as a rejection, y'all. People are just being careful.
I elbow bump, fist bump, every kind of thing. We've been doing all kinds of things for a while. So I just think that the reality is really how do you interface. The biggest problem for me on Saturday was I didn't recognize people. If you wear a hat and a mask, do not get your feelings hurt. You have a hat and a mask and glasses on. I can't see any part of your face.
Everybody coming to say hi to you. And so she's just like, hey, how you doing?
Hello, you.
Hey, you. Sorry if Donna hey-you'd you on Saturday. She apologizes right now.
No, listen. Cedric came from Healing Between the Lines.
Oh, he did?
Yes, and he had this really sharp, he was very well dressed, and he had his mask on, and he took his mask off for like 5.5 seconds. Mm-hmm. And I was like, who was that? And he's all smiling, and so I knew I was supposed to know him. And I was like, hey, would you like a meal? I was back in the kitchen. Would you like a meal? He said, yeah. And I said, okay, thank you. Nice seeing you. And I got home and I was like, oh, wait a minute, that was Cedric.
He listens to this show faithfully.
Cedric, what's up? I'm very sorry. I sent him a personal apology. But you were very well dressed, and it had nothing to do with that, because he had on some linen suit. I was like,
he was sharp.
He was
Shout out to
sharp.
Said Mutabi.
Yes,
student doctor Said Mutabi at the Wayne State
Exactly.
Medical School.
Yes. Okay.
Oh, man, that wraps up our Fresh Off the Press segment. If you have pieces that you want discussed on Authentically Detroit, you can hit us up on our socials at Authentically Detroit on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, or you can email us at authenticallydetroit@gmail.com. So, Philip and Ian are here, and we are happy to have you both here to share with us in celebration and in critical conversation. This episode actually came about at the pressing of Ian McCain. Yes. So thank you for calling us out, Ian, because it was just not at the front of mind for myself. At least I can't speak for Donna, but it was definitely not something that I was thinking about. So if we can, let's start off on a celebratory note. Happy Pride Month once again. And we would love to hear from the both of you to tell us, number one, why Pride Month is necessary and why it's worth celebrating.
Cool. You can go kick it off, Ian, since you were the one who just got us all in the room.
He got us in a room.
So I guess I should start by saying that I did think that it was important to have a Pride Month episode. I didn't know that Orlando was going to ask me to be on here, so I am honored.
You can thank your CEO, Donna Givens Davidson. She was like, "Oh yeah, we're getting Ian on." Yeah.
Well, I
just do what she tells me to do.
Absolutely, me too. Well, I've been a long time listener of the show, and I've definitely sent Donna, I don't know how many ideas at this point, about different shows. So I was excited, but yeah, so Pride Month is interesting in a lot of good ways, and I think I've grown and evolved over the years since I came out. Let's see, it probably would that have been in 2012. Yeah. So it's been a while. So, wow, almost 10 years. That's kind of crazy.
You're getting old.
Yes, I am. This year is also my 10-year anniversary from graduating from high school. So that's kind of crazy as well. So,
congrats.
But yeah. So let me think. So what does Pride Month mean to me? I think in a lot of ways it's like critical thinking journey for myself, right? Like, what does being a part of the LGBTQ community mean to me? But even more than that, I think more importantly, it's understanding the full breadth of what those letters mean and when we talk about this concept of intersectionality too. Like, what are things that I don't necessarily deal with as a white gay man that Philip may deal with as a black gay man, or that different things that a black trans woman, for example, might deal with, or things like that. So I definitely will, admit that I have a lot to learn, but I think it's been really exciting to be able to work with and take part in different volunteer opportunities with organizations like the Ruth Ellis Center and LGBT Detroit. So I would say one thing that I'm actively reflecting on, and I'm really hoping that the announcement goes out soon, but LGBT Detroit last year started a C4 political action arm of their organization. And this year was the first year that they did candidate endorsements.
A candidate slate?
Yeah. So I'm not sure exactly when it's going to be announced. We did the interviews and all those sorts of things, but I was really fortunate to be on the selections committee, and I think it's a great step forward, kind of to Donna's point of holding our elected officials accountable, actually saying, hey, like, you stepped up, you went through this process, we're going to endorse you, but then if and when you become elected, like, these are the things that we expect you to do. So to be able to kind of start that, be engaged in that initial process was really exciting. I'm not sure if I fully answered your question there. Is there anything else you wanted to
Look,
You got it.
you can come back and we can answer more questions.
Yeah,
Philip,
absolutely.
why is it important to celebrate to you?
Yeah, I think Pride Month is important to celebrate for me, partly just because it forces kind of the world to really listen to the LGBTQ community, because all throughout the year, of course, we can say what we can say, but having a designated month and, having all the corporations do all their things that actually people in the community don't care about.
I was getting ready to say, how you feel about the corporatizing of Pride Month?
Our community really doesn't like it. We think they're just doing it for money. And honestly, most of the gear that they make, most of their Pride lines end up pretty ugly, honestly. It's not really stuff we want to wear. So, we think the whole corporate part of it is kind of, ridiculous. But it is cool getting to, like, celebrate ourselves. And I love that even with June being Pride Month, like, the Pride celebrations go throughout the whole summer in different cities. And so it's just really fun because I actually, in the summer of 2015, my first summer interning during college in San Francisco, I was turning 20, and it was like the Pride Parade on that day, and it was my first experience at a Pride Parade, and right around then was when I was just gaining the confidence and everything to come out. And so that I hadn't even never thought of Pride Month before then while in the closet, and it was just a really magical experience, I feel like, for me. And, just helped shape, especially because San Francisco is so liberal. It was like I got to really just experience, celebration of, I feel like, a part of myself that I was just all confused about and everything growing up. So, yeah, I think it's important just to help people see there's a space. Like, for our community, I feel like having spaces to go to is one of the really important things. And different cities have different amounts and levels of spaces to go to, which is something that we'll probably talk about later. But yeah, I like that Pride Month offers those.
Yeah. I have to say that I was really disappointed at the fact that Detroit does not really celebrate Pride Month in June. Philip came home in June, and it's hotter than July in Detroit. So it's like, just a little bit later, and you would have been able to really be part of something. So hopefully we can get you back here next July so you can see how Detroit does it. And we have one of the oldest black gay Pride. Yeah, well, we'll see.
Wish I could.
Donna, make them stay a little longer.
Yeah.
I mean, if she moves my flight. But yeah, we got to see.
Yeah.
We'll look at that. Yeah, because I think it's important to really look and see what has been done. Curtis Lipscomb is just such a great leader in the community. And, he's got a headquarters now, a beautiful building on the west side of Detroit. Come east, Curtis. But he's got a beautiful building on the west side of Detroit, and I think even becoming a C4 and standing up in Pride. He graduated from Cass with a lot of my friends when I graduated from Mercy. So yes, Curtis, I'm telling your age if you're listening. But no, he's doing a great job, and I'm really excited about the work there. But I think it's important from the flip side because it forces us to listen.
It does.
And I think that the important thing during Pride Month is that we don't talk and we listen.
Legit.
This is
I
not
agree with
our
that.
fight.
Because we do a lot of talking. And Philip, I had a follow-up question for you, because you said it forces everybody to see and listen, right? What do we need to see and what do we need to hear?
I feel like what people need to hear is that, honestly, I think we need to be at a point in society where just, where people are on the spectrum, I think that people have to accept that, honestly, most people in general, exist somewhere on the spectrum, and none of that really matters. Like, none of anybody else's business matters at the end of the day. So I would say that, yeah, they need to understand that it's like you all can be living your great, peaceful life, and the LGBTQ community can be too. So, yeah, I think they just need to see that the changes that have been gradually going on in the world need to continue to go on, and it needs to just continue to be less taboo, and yeah.
So as we talk about Pride Month, during Juneteenth, I'm claiming all of June for Juneteenth. Celebrate us all month long. And I know we have Black History Month. I'm not trying to take over Pride Month, but I am saying that we have the freedom, right?
Yeah.
And I think of two people who we really need to spend some time talking about. One is Bayard Rustin, and the other one is James Baldwin.
Yeah.
Because where would we be as a Black race without Bayard Rustin? Where would we be in terms of our intellectual growth and our thought? Ta-Nehisi Coates would not exist as he does without James Baldwin. We stand on the shoulders of these greats. And I think we have a way of looking at them as Black men who happen to be gay, and not gay men who happen to be Black.
So that's really interesting, Donna. And my rigorous question comes in at this point, whereas we tend to look at history and there is an erasure of gay folks in our history, especially Black gay folks. How do we reclaim that? And it's a big question, right? And I know, and I don't want to tokenize the both of you. I want to be very careful in how, but not looking at history and not being able to see yourselves reflected in mainstream, like that has to be difficult. How can we help reclaim that?
I think that similar to the way that schools don't really cover Black history as much as they do white history in general, I would say it would somewhat be a push literally within the education system to kind of educate on that whole side of the politics more so too. Because I can't say I remember learning too much. Yeah, in my U.S. history classes and stuff, it would very much so by the time we got to like 1960s or 1900s or anything like that, we definitely weren't talking about anything dealing with gay rights. So I would say even having some type of Pride Month situations in schools would be one big thing. I know, though, that Pride Month is June, so schools get out right around then, so it's kind of finals time. But I would say that it would take that, like our schooling system, literally placing the information, like dedicating a month to Pride the way that the world kind of is.
What about you, Ian?
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think similar to, growing up in a predominantly white community and not really learning about Black history, going to a PWI and then moving to Detroit, there's a lot of things to learn. So, you seek out community elders, you look to books, you look to organizations that have been doing the work on the ground for a long time. And I think that some of that also translates over to learning about the LGBTQ community. So another person that I think we need to uplift in this discussion in terms of LGBTQ elders, historical figures, folks who really paved the way, is Ruth Ellis. And we have an entire center that does amazing work to this day named after her, and there are still so many people who don't know her story. So
there are a whole lot of people who don't know what the Ruth Ellis Center does. One of my former coworkers, actually one of the former deputy directors from Warren Connor, Karen Brown, was one of the people who helped found the Ruth Ellis Center, who told me all about it when I was working in the North End. Can you share for Philip and for anybody listening exactly what Ruth Ellis does?
Sure. So they provide a variety of different services. Housing is one piece of that. So we know in the LGBTQ community, there's a higher rate of homelessness, especially among youth and teens, than there are across the general population, and that goes even higher when you talk about Black and brown communities. So I would say one of the big things that Ruth Ellis does is really provide both temporary and permanent housing for those LGBTQ young people.
Oh, that's good.
I can't remember exactly what age it goes up to. I think they go a little bit, I want to say 21, but and then another thing is they have an actual health clinic in their center. Their board went to Nancy Schlichting when she was still the head of Henry Ford Health System and said, hey, we need a clinic in our building that is specifically tailored towards providing services to the LGBTQ community, that is compassionate care, that knows how to ask the questions that sometimes folks are afraid to ask. And they, put up the money, and there's not just, physical health services, but also mental health services as well. Let's see. They have a variety of different fundraisers and events that they host throughout the year, too. A lot of those went virtual during the pandemic. But they have a community center upstairs where they have a computer lab, they serve meals, they have a closet where folks can go and get free clothing. They also provide trainings to the communities to help, leaders at different organizations, in particular nonprofits that are serving the LGBTQ community, be, compassionate and informed, similar to the health clinic. So they actually provide those trainings. I believe it was for free. I'm not sure if they're still doing those for free anymore or not, but that, I think that's kind of a good high-level overview.
I'm proud of the work our organization has done with LGBTQIA youth, but we haven't really talked about it and gotten trained. Right. So that does raise the question. I know that the leader of our youth programs is a real advocate and supporter. But I think we probably do need to connect with Ruth Ellis and be more intentional about that with adults and young people. So that's one of the commitments I think that we have to make going forward. Nice. It's partly celebration, but it's also listening. And listening means that you intentionally place yourself in the learning mode. I have a couple questions. What do the letters stand for? I know what they stand for, but what do the letters? I've heard LGBT, LGBTQ, LGBTQIA. What do the letters stand for, and what are you most comfortable with people using?
So the way this works is that you got to talk.
Yes.
Oh, sorry. Sorry. I didn't know if you were still talking.
Yes, I'm sorry.
So LGBTQ is lesbian, bisexual, gay, transgender, and queer.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then the I?
The I is,
See, so this is the interesting part, right? Because I think a lot of, and I'm going to throw out a term, right? I'm going to throw out a term that a lot of folks, that's kind of new to folks, cisgender people kind of struggle with, because there's so many terms a lot of folks don't want to be offensive, and then the conversation isn't yet normalized in a lot of communities. And so like when we talk about like these acronyms and things like that, so many people are just like, help us with a starting point. But then like I have so many friends who are gay who are like, I don't even know what some of that stuff means. So what is that learning journey like? Intra-community, extra-community. I mean, it's a lot to grasp, so many terms.
Yeah. Last year, actually, when I did a podcast episode for Pride Month and had somebody on, I was already kind of learning about some certain identities that I hadn't really known about before. And through doing that, and when I was making my little podcast intro jingle and I Googled like, okay, what are all the possible terms? The funny thing is that really there's probably like 30 terms. So right now, LGBTQ and now, also IA make it in, but it's like there's so many and there's so many definitions. And it really just reminded me last year when looking up all of those and making sure that everything was set for the episode, I was like, wow, honestly, people can have any identity that they wake up at. You can wake up and say that your sexuality, you can be, I don't know. I'm trying to think of some type of other ones, but like it really just opens your eyes to the fact that however people identify is how they identify. And we don't even need to, in some ways, always understand. It's just about accepting everybody for who they are and like kind of minding our business in a way.
Yeah, I agree with
I
that.
like that. Mind your business.
Yes.
I'll add to there's a resource that's helped me that's continued to evolve, and it actually, I think it's called something else now, but at one time it was called the Genderbread Person, and it kind of breaks down some of these different identities and the difference between like cisgender, genderqueer, and some of these others. So in terms of sexuality, gender, sex, some of these different things. So and that's kind of helped me understand it, but also has been a resource that I've been able to share with other people, and they're like, oh, that makes sense, like when you have it broken down in those different categories. So it's not, I mean, it's a lot of information at once, but it's at least organized, so it's a little bit more palatable for folks that haven't thought about it, aren't familiar with it, or maybe have heard some of these terms but don't know the full breadth of different potential identities. And I think another one, too, to your point, Philip, that is not new, but I think is new to some people, is like genderqueer, gender nonconforming. Right. So, and even that, can be defined so many different ways as well. So it's tricky.
It makes me feel like when I'm hearing you speak that we put labels on things, and we have to know what something is. Right. We create races, and we have all these new terms like we're BIPOC now. I reject that.
I've never actually said that because it just, I'm like...
I reject that.
And Latinx, I'm wondering if the Hispanic community subscribes to that.
There's some who do, but I would say the majority, from what I've seen in surveys, don't. We put, listen, I was saying, my grandmother was born colored, and she died black. Right. But the same woman, right?
Yeah.
And
right.
so at what point do we put these labels on it? My colored parents gave birth to a Negro child. I don't understand.
Who turned black.
Who turned black.
And then African-American.
African-American, I did my time. And then, there's all of these expectations that put around it. And I think that sometimes all of those definitions, I think it's important that people understand it. And I'm not trying to minimize the importance of understanding and being able to name and understand who you are. But I wonder to some extent whether or not some of that benefits people in power. To be able to subdivide us into all these little pieces and have us there. Do you think that the world would be a better place if you were just Ian and Philip and you didn't have to identify and have to protect yourself from the kind of expectations that you do from other people?
Naturally, yes. I also would like to add in that I have Googled, and the I stands for intersex. And I already knew the A was asexual. I can honestly say I did not know the I was intersex.
That's Donna's son, y'all.
I didn't.
To the Googles he went. And Donna does it at the drop of a hat. Yes, I love it.
Oh, you'd be surprised at how much he's my son. When he was in high school, we used to, because I was doing a lot of research on colleges and stuff like that, and he could research anything about any college in America.
I knew everything about all the colleges in America, and still ended up at one 40 minutes away from home because it was my favorite.
He went to U of M. He literally only wanted to go to U of M, and I couldn't convince him to go even consider anything else. So, wow. But yes, my son. But yes, when you look at it, I just wonder the extent to which putting a name on something is something that you're forced to do in a culture that demands
a label. Yeah,
right. Because I think that's part of what stresses people out. Because in order to come out, you have to even know, okay, well, what do I identify as? Right, yeah. And then it's like people are always trying to figure out, what to come out as, because even me as a gay man, I at first was, with my wording, I was kind of more so coming out as bisexual, which really was a lie. And I know that in general, everyone's always trying to figure out what to come out as. And if if on the sexuality side and gender side, there's a lot of, just open fluidity, it makes it hard for people because they're like, well, I don't fit into any of these boxes, so I don't fit into society. And it makes me sad for sure that, some people feel that way and don't end up being able to, even as adults, it can still be hard for people to, figure out what to do.
So questions. Do you identify as black or gay? Which identity is most important to you? And to what extent does society make that choice for you?
I would say I identify as both. I think that society in some ways forces gay people to at times identify as gay first, because what we go through is just kind of separate than just the rest of the black community's experience. And I think that a lot of black gay people can just definitely say that in some ways, because I just know I've seen it on TV shows and also just with friends and stuff like that. It's like the way that the rest of the black community ends up treating the black gay community feels somewhat like, the racism that the black community can feel from the white community. So wow. I would definitely say that at times we are forced to identify first as gay, even though we're very pro-black and everything, but we definitely, there's just situations and stuff that force that out of us, kind of.
Well, that's actually really interesting to hear, because I like that the other question to that was, does society make that choice for us? And I think we all live in a white normative society, right? And trying to counteract that narrative and that supremacy. When a white person looks at you, Philip, what do they see? They see a black man first, right? Mm-hmm. And so that's just, all of these dualities and dichotomies that, exist, that that you guys have to continue to navigate. It's crazy. It's just nuts.
Because there's also racism within the gay community, right?
Yeah.
So then you also have to deal with that.
Ian, you brought that up too, right?
Yeah, and it's something that, I personally have had to check myself on too. You know what I mean? So it's, yeah, I do think that, there's definitely racism within the LGBTQ community. And I think there's also a lot of times co-opting of black LGBTQ culture that's done by white LGBTQ folks. And it's like, oh, it's okay because like we're all gay and everything's hunky-dory. And it's like, no, but you're missing the historical context and the impact and how much black LGBTQ folks have paved the trail for the rest of us. So, so I think, oftentimes white LGBTQ folks like to be like, oh, we're all gay, like it's all fine. And then they feel like they don't have to check themselves on their racism or their misogyny.
It's a really important nuance. That's such an important nuance, because there's still a layer of privilege that exists.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so when a lot of times when black people talk about gay rights, and I hear, it's almost as though gay means white. Sort of like when they talk about women's rights. It's like, aren't there black women? Well, aren't there black gays? You're talking about gay people are getting the rights for black. They're black gays. What do you mean gay people are getting the rights for? Like, this is a separate race. We are all, why are we fighting over which oppressed person?
The oppression Olympics.
Gets the oppression Olympics, and also this anger when you see other people who are oppressed get any kind of recognition for anything they do seems to be very divisive. And I see a lot of it. And so I can understand why you feel like, wait a minute, there's a separation. Not just that, but there's a lot of homophobia, and a lot of it exists within religiosity. I was just reading an article that my friends, sisters, whatever, my sister's friends, sister wrote.
Your sister-in-law, baby sister, cousin Tracy?
Exactly, her. And she was talking about how, in the church, her son came out to her and her husband is gay, and how the church played a role in that. Mm-hmm. And, we're a church town, we're a religious town. You're from a religious family, Orlando.
Absolutely.
The church is not welcoming.
Absolutely.
At all. And because of that, I think it may impact the culture of Black Detroit.
In Detroit? A black gay Detroit?
Black Detroit.
Oh, period. Okay.
Such that Black gay Detroit is not fully welcome in the political sphere, even though you have it's like there's just in the public sphere, down low is a preferred identity. Everybody may know that person is gay. So it's not like down low is really working, but it's a mandate that you don't tell me who you are here. That even if I know, I don't want to know. So we'll just pretend like we'll just maintain this fiction.
On top of the horrible precedent that was set when we elected Charles Pugh as president of the Detroit City Council, and how much trouble he got into. I think now that, and it's so unfortunate that so many people equate, especially public officials, that way in that same manner, and it's so false.
But they never do it when the men do it.
That's right.
When Kwame Kilpatrick was sleeping with everything with the pulse. I'm sorry. I'm happy you're back, and I'm glad that you're in church right now. But you did it. The lady who came here to monitor the police department, and he was all over the place. But people did not judge him. People do not judge every black man in that way. Every black politician, and yet. There's so many stories. There's many stories. So to take this one person and say, and they do it to us all of the time. One black person messes up, a black person kills somebody or somebody dies. And the first thing black people do is try to look up the name of the person or a picture to see were they black. Because we feel this group, we're indicted as an entire race when one person does something. And it's race, it's homophobic. It's wrong to judge anybody by what those were his sins.
Absolutely.
Those were absolutely his sins. And I think that makes people comfortable. So I think my question is, what do you think it would take to change our down low LGBTQ landscape so that we're the blackest city in America? We could have a very thriving black scene like Atlanta, LA, to some extent, I guess, New York. But what would it take for Detroit to go from where it is right now to that place where people are welcome?
I think one thing is literally what I talked about earlier, having the spaces. When I moved to New York and now living in LA and having spent some time in Atlanta, like having the different black gay bars and clubs and areas and just literally letting people, because say people knew that moving to Detroit they could go to all these clubs and the young people just know, all right, I'm gonna be having a fun time, they're gonna want to move here. But what I see a lot of, I feel like, is black gay people in the area, myself included, a few years ago, getting to the point where it's like, you know what, I'm actually just gonna leave where things are really fun, because I know a lot of the Detroit gays will travel to Atlanta a lot, especially. That's one of the big places where either Detroit gays will move or just go for the weekends to party and stuff like that. And while that's great and I love Atlanta, it would be cool if we were able to just stay here and have that young, fun, normal time that you get to kind of in every city, every other city, just by having spaces for people to have fun in.
Do you feel like there are spaces for you here, Ian?
I think so. I will say I think they're concentrated in certain areas. So, like, for example, I grew up in St. Clair Shores out in Macomb County, and if there is any open, I can't think of a single gay bar out there. In Oakland County, outside of Ferndale, maybe they exist, but I can't think of any off the top of my head. And then in Detroit, pretty much not just the organizations that work with the community, but most of the bars and clubs are on the west side of the city or in southwest. So on the east side, again, I think I looked it up. There was one for a couple of years on Harper, and I can't even think of the name of it, and that's no longer open. So, I'm glad that ECN has been, working with LGBTQ youth, and I do think we need to uplift that and talk about that more, and make sure that, we are uplifting that so we can welcome other LGBTQ folks into our space.
Right.
But I do think there is a lack of LGBTQ friendly spaces on the east side, whether you're talking about bars or community center or social service organization.
And it's kind of even crazy to talk about LGBTQ friendly, right? It's like, oh, the black friendly space. Like, every space should be friendly.
Right.
And the fact that you have to define it speaks to something. And I think that's where activism and advocacy has to come in. And it can't be 1 month a year. How do we advocate and activate? Like, I've made it very clear at ECN staff, intolerance is not welcome here.
That's right.
And so if you want to be intolerant, you can. Just can't work here. That's not here. But I think we need to do more than that. I think we have to look at more than public policy and look at a lot of the issues, because we look at homelessness, We look at
Suicide,
poverty.
poverty.
Suicide is a huge issue in our community. But is there a correlation between homosexuality or homophobia and suicide, where people treat kids a certain kind of way and they, or young people? Do you think there's a correlation?
Yeah, I think that one of the things that doesn't get talked about that much is that maybe it's not always in the out community, but it's more so within the DL community, like people we might not ever hear from. I just know that, because just like we already know that people literally get driven out of their homes with their families because of their sexuality and things like that. Like, they're just 100% is also a correlation with negative things down the line that, you know, can include things such as suicide. So I feel like it's important for us to just educate people on the whole mental health component, because the reality is that, you know, without the family base, it does make things harder for the community than it is for people who are straight, because, you know, then you all already automatically all identify the same way. If you're straight plus the race, you know, you all are basically the same. But when there's kind of an outsider, I think that's when, and if people don't know how to express that, I think that it doesn't get talked about that much, how that can impact just kind of the suicide numbers and stuff.
And I think that's something that we need to spend some time talking about. Donna kind of got at it a little bit earlier about you know, the rejection, especially because of religiosity and things like that. But when a child takes their life, or when a Black trans woman is killed, that affects families in the church, outside the church, in the culture. And what we oftentimes also don't hear from, we don't hear from the parents of the Black trans women sometimes who are killed, who may have been suffering, you know, from no relationship, or that rejection part piece that always happens, right? But now their daughter has been murdered, or somebody has taken their own life. Yeah,
we tolerate violence against Black trans women.
I don't understand why.
We tolerate comedians making jokes about Black trans women. And then they say, oh, you're not making it comfortable for comedy. The idea that, you know, that being around a Black trans woman or a trans woman is somehow threatening to masculinity. And I was having this conversation earlier with Philip on our way here about the toxic masculinity and how much toxic masculinity plays into that. And this, the toxic masculinity, we live in a white male supremacist, hetero supremacist nation. Right? Whiteness is something that was created to create privilege or confer privilege to some people. And this whole, you know, masculinity movement, this I'm tough, I don't want to, you know, I'm nothing soft about me, everything is, you know, these strange, these hyper masculine motifs permit violence against women, against children, against trans women, and it's tolerated. And I think that we have got to be intolerant and really speak out against it. This is not funny. It's not cute. One thing that I think is really interesting is this season of The Chi. And actually last season of The Chi. Because it features a Black trans woman in a relationship. And she's the person who is really fighting on behalf of other women. I think we need more people like that incorporated into more media so that people can see them in relationships, in families. Because I also think that there's more visibility for certain types of people in the LGBTQ than others. And the oppression or the invisibility. Would you agree with that? Let me say, I'm saying this, but would you agree with that, Ian, Philip? Do you agree that there's more oppression against some than others? Or more visibility?
Oh, 100%. I mean, I just in general feel so bad for Black trans women having to go out into the world every day. Like, when I have to see these notifications on social media that someone's been murdered, that's one thing for me as a Black gay man to have to read. But if I were a Black trans woman thinking, oh my gosh, how am I going to go to the grocery store tomorrow and not fear, you know, getting, you know, murdered or something crazy? That's just a whole nother experience. And so that's why I appreciate that our community does acknowledge that we have somewhat of as black gay men, like we have a privilege when it comes to black trans women, because they're some of the bravest people, honestly, like going out into the world as their true selves and doing, whatever it is that they do. It's amazing and brave, because our world just tolerates still too much violence. But I hope that having representation, even on screens of more black trans women and having there be more visibility now, I hope that over time things do get more accepting and people get more understanding. But part of the issue is that the homophobia and just fluidity and confusion of the people attracted to the trans women is really, honestly,
that's the thing.
That's what's fueling the murders.
Fueling it, right?
That's why they're murdering them.
Talk about it.
It's like, I've done this with you, and now I'm afraid that you're going to out me or tell someone. Which the funny thing is that I'm sure the people don't even care enough to out them, yet they're so at war within themselves that then they are killing the trans women just to try to
project self-hate.
Yeah, it's like they're scared of being outed for whatever it is. They're embarrassed, and it's unfortunate that just by being desired, honestly, that is what's fueling the murders.
Yeah, absolutely. It's what's fueling the murders, but it's also the tolerance for it. So what role does media play? What role does it play to see, have film? I know, Phil, that's one of your goals, is to create, that's your mission, right?
Yeah, I mean, it plays a big role for me. When I was 19 and decided to come out, I remember watching Empire. This was before I stopped watching it. They say everybody one time missed an episode and never
or a season,
right? So for me, so season 1 I saw all of, and Jamal's little coming out story, I was in college and 19 at the time, and it just really inspired me. I was like, oh my gosh, like he's living his best life, he's super happy. And I don't know, I just really felt it. So I decided to come out. So now for me, I think back to it and I'm like, dang, there was one black gay show called Noah's Ark that was out during my childhood. I was like, at the time, only 10 and very in the closet, so I didn't really have black gay people around, so there was really no way I was going to even find out about it. So I didn't really get to grow up seeing any of it. It wasn't until college I'm watching the show and I'm like, oh, I can come out. And it's just cool that I feel that now in the world, honestly, because the representation is moving forward just by force, since, social media and TV and streaming and everything. I mean, it's everywhere. And young people are able to just see themselves represented, whether we only have a couple shows right now or not. It's still something, and everybody is watching. So I feel like people are able to come out earlier. Like, I've just heard that in high schools and stuff like that, there's more out people than there used to be. In my high school, it was like barely any. And if those 2 or 3 people who were out, it was just so taboo. That's
so crazy, because my experience going to Detroit School of Arts was so different, right? It was a place where we celebrated and honored differences,
right,
and diversity. And so in my little small chasm of the world, I thought it was normal.
That's crazy.
In high school, I did.
And it really does depend on who you're around. That's real. And so for me, just not being around it and not seeing it on screens definitely had a negative impact in a way, because I feel like I just wasn't having myself represented and present around. So I'm like, well, okay, maybe that's not what I should be doing. But yeah, now with my company and just the film work I do, honestly, because some of the projects are more focused on specifically talking about the whole coming out process and stuff like that. But, there's other projects where it more so is just focused on, just showing us, like, having fun, being entertaining, like doing whatever the plot is, whether it's a horror or it's Christmas or whatever it is, just living life, because we don't have enough of that. Like, we'll have maybe one little show, but really what we need to be able to watch black gay Christmas films, like Halloween ones, dramas, comedies, action, superhero, animated, really anything. And so I've been enjoying just getting to help contribute to that, and all the other cool people who I've met who make dope work in the industry too. You
got to tell us about Philaye. Am I saying it correctly?
Yes, that's how you say it.
Philaye Films and some of the work that's going on over there.
Yeah. Yes, so Philaye Films is my production and entertainment studio based out of LA. So yeah, I have a comedy show called Flip Flop. There's really just several projects right now that are in production. A psychological thriller film from last month that we shot There is a Christmas film, actually a Black woman Christmas film that we'll be filming in a couple months. There's a drama series, Ambition. There's really just a whole bunch of projects, and I'm having a really good time just getting to work and make all types of different art that I like in different genres, and just working with a whole bunch of cool people. So
I have some more questions for you. I want to talk real quickly about how you got into this, because you did not go to school.
No.
For this.
No, so yeah, I went to University of Michigan's undergrad business program and got my bachelor's in business administration with a concentration in accounting. And so while I was at Michigan, the Black community has these fashion shows that they put on. So I got involved in those. My senior year, I was finance chair in one. And then I was elected to president of one and was going to be getting my master's of accounting. But I decided to not do that, partly because I got out of a relationship, and also just was going to be putting a lot of more loans on my balance. And I was like, you know what, let me just get into the workforce. So I moved to New York and was working as a financial analyst at Ralph Lauren. And that's when I started my first blog, because I had realized I wanted to go into this, because the fashion org made me realize I wanted creativity in my adult career, but I'm like, wait, I'm not really a fashion person. So I knew that wasn't really the long-term route for me. So I started a blog, and then in 2018 started a YouTube channel, and then I was just really doing any random creative thing. And then I one day did an episode of my web series Black Sex in the City. Well, really it was just a random skit, but people thought it was funny, and I was like, oh shoot, this is what I want to do. Oh yeah. So I got a little camera, and my web series was born then, and that's kind of what built my following and stuff, and got a lot of people hitting me up to want to work and stuff. So I moved out to LA and started my show Flip Flop. We filmed a pilot. We had premieres in 2019 before the pandemic ended, and then it got picked up at the beginning of the pandemic by Brandon TV Studio, which was launched under Viacom and Awesomeness TV. So after it got picked up, that's when a lot of people started to hit me up, like from all directions, to produce projects. So now that's why I have a lot on my plate. I have written a lot of the ones I'm producing, but I'm also producing others' work, and I really love both sides. Like, there's just really cool projects we're doing, and I think they're all really entertaining, so I'm excited.
So Ian, you have taken a different route.
I have, but it's funny because my undergrad is also in business administration.
Oh, cool.
But it was in HR. I have never worked a corporate HR job in my life.
That's funny.
But so let's see. So I graduated from CMU in 2015, and worked two different kind of corporate jobs, one at a Target store for a little bit, and then I also spent some time at Quicken Loans, believe it or not. So that was an experience. But then I really got into planning and giving tours of Detroit with Detroit Experience Factory. So I was kind of connected in with them in college, but DXF was really what kind of exposed me to the world of community development. And then, was a Challenge Detroit fellow, and that was what led me to the MCD program at Detroit Mercy. So, I've had some different community development gigs and done some paid and free political organizing work, and then was fortunate for Orlando and Donna to welcome me on to the ECN team in February of 2020, right before the pandemic. It was kind of crazy. I was in for a month, and then I studied abroad in Cuba, which was amazing.
Oh, cool.
And still will, on the roughest days of the pandemic, we'll close my eyes and go back there for a few minutes. But
yes.
If you haven't went, either of you or anyone else that's listening, definitely get a chance to go. Cuba's beautiful, amazing. The people are super welcoming, and we have, I think, a lot more to learn and share with them than differences, which, of course, is what we've been told by the media for years. But anyway, and came back going through 3 international airports, and then, so they told us to quarantine, and at the end of that quarantine was when the whole state shut down. So, new job, and then that was at the same time that Orlando was transitioning to his new role with Bridge Detroit. So I had a new job that was supposed to be working in the community that then I had to do virtually. and then a new boss, all within roughly 3 months' time. Now, I will say I absolutely love Angela Brown Wilson. She's amazing. Shout out to Angela. She leads our business and economic development work, and I've learned a lot working with and from her. So, and as well as with Donna. Donna also leads other parts of our business and economic development work as well. But it was definitely challenging at first, but I think they used to call ECN back when it was Warren Connor University, and I didn't totally get that at first, but I've definitely learned and grown a lot. At least it feels like I have over the year and a half that I've been here. So
you've definitely grown.
Well, thanks. I appreciate that, Donna.
Yes, I can see it. You know, that is something that we enjoy doing here. I came here in the 90s. Actually, Philip was born when I was working here. We used to have a daycare center
There was
here.
a tornado.
And there's a tornado in Detroit, and he and I were stuck in the building behind an electric fence that would not open. But yeah, so this is a passion work. But I came here, learned a lot. And, you know, when you get into the learning mode of work, there's this whole concept of learning organization, and we can grow. So my question for both of you is, what can ECN learn about how we can contribute to equity? You know, we can't fix everything, but how can we contribute to equity, especially when we talk about community development? It seems as though inclusion should be part of any community development agenda.
Yeah.
But what does that look like to you?
I would say, going off of what I had said earlier, trying to find a way to, even if it's just advocating for more spaces in the city so that people literally have somewhere to go and meet. Because I feel like that's a lot of the reason why it's like so DL. Because if you have to like go through an app or something to meet people, or just know through the grapevine, it just kind of makes it harder to just live a normal gay life. So yeah, I would say just finding ways to coordinate somehow, making there be spaces. So it's like, well, this is where we can go on Thursdays or Fridays, Saturdays, or wherever, because people like that.
I think one thing that ECN does a really good job of, that not all organizations do necessarily, is not reinventing the wheel. So if there is other organizations that are doing great work, then we can bring them in and partner with them. So I would love to see us partner with Curtis and LGBT Detroit, and maybe, to Philip's point, we have like 2 nights a week. Maybe there's like a young LGBTQ, maybe it's for folks from like, let's just say 18 to 30 or something, and it's a group, and you just come in and just talk about life, you know, just have an hour. At Affirmations out in Ferndale, they have a senior coffee clutch. That's one of their most popular events. So being able to do something like that here, I think would be really great.
So when you say here, you mean at the Stoudemire?
Yeah, I think we could do it at the Stoudemire. I think we could do it at Mack Market, either or. I think we've got the space for it.
So, given the culture, would it be more advantageous to have a space that is more protected, or a space that's more inclusive, or both?
Wait, what?
So, given the culture of intolerance, some people, as you pointed out, are going to not feel comfortable, coming out into a space where they will be recognized, I would imagine. Right. So, I'm wondering if it would be helpful to have a space where people could feel like their identities were protected somewhat, or because when you go to Affirmations, you know you're going to Affirmations, and the people you're going to see inside there, you know, are going to be allies.
So you mean like a safe space to just talk about, like,
to congregate, to have fun, to feel.
So when you say protected, or like,
that's what I mean. Like, not a space like you and Ian will go anywhere and be who you are. But I'm wondering if there's a value in having a separate space where people can have ownership.
I'm just trying to. So when you say.
So like on the west side, you have the organizations, LGBT. You have, it's kind of near east side, you have the Ruth Ellis House. And then in Ferndale, you have Affirmations. You don't have anything equivalent on the east side.
Right. And I think also, like, and I know this is like beyond ECN's scope, but just in terms of like things to campaign for within the city, I would just say additional like just LGBTQ club bar type of things. Also,
That's what
just
I meant.
like,
Yeah. Because one of Ian's jobs is commercial redevelopment along Mack Avenue. I mean, that is not one of his jobs. That is his job. Is
right. It
commercial
would be great to have an East Side. Like, there's definitely some, black gay people on the East Side who, if they can go just literally just grab a drink and just be, in there. It doesn't even have to be, some lavish like metropolitan like nightclub. It's as simple. There's been places in cities that I've enjoyed and that people love. It's just a simple little bar, and you get some good music on, maybe some screens that play throwback music videos, because gay people love to be able to watch those visuals and stuff like that. So it's just as simple as even a little bar, nothing fancy, just somewhere that exists.
So I'm hearing two things. I'm hearing a little bar, and I'm hearing a place to meet and support. And so maybe we could work with Curtis around perhaps LGBT East.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I think that's
and
a great
having
idea.
East Side space. And then we could also have welcoming here, so that people who come here can understand that there's space here. So I'm not saying not here, but I'm thinking that, some people would be comfortable coming here, some people would not.
Yeah.
And we want to create space for people who would not be comfortable coming here.
Yeah, like people who just want to maybe slip out for a drink and incognitally, whatever.
Right. So I think that to me is when you really are allies. You're doing more than lip service and saying, oh, I support you, but you actually have to take positive actions, wouldn't you say?
Yeah.
To try to correct some of the alienation and injustice in our community.
Yeah, because people have to be able to, the more we can congregate, the better in a city.
And I think, too, so part of my job, of course, too, is trying to build bridges between Detroit and the Grosse Pointes. And even just thinking about the neighborhoods along Mack between Connor and Moross, it's well known that there's a large LGBTQ population living in East English Village. And even in Grosse Pointe now, we have an organization called WeGP that is hosting a Pride Parade this Saturday, which I talked to one of the organizers. I'm like, can you come on Mack this year? And they're like, not this year, but maybe next year. I'm like, okay. So, but I think with having a space on Mack, there's an opportunity to kind of build between the LGBT community on both sides of the corridor.
Right. I think that's great. I was on, what's the neighborhood app?
Nextdoor?
Nextdoor. I was on Nextdoor this morning, and some folks from East English Village were trying to arrange a get-together. And they were saying, let's get to, for Pride Month, LGBTQ people in East English Village, do you want to get together? And I think they were planning on going to a local establishment. I don't want to say which one, because unless they wanted me to. But, they were all planning to get together. And I thought that was kind of cool because, of course, I knew that community was large, because I know several people in East English Village who, are. But I think the question for me, and this is going to be my final question for you, Ian, is do you feel at times like you have to put that side of you on hold in order to do work here? That you have to work as if you're building a community for people who are not you? Or do you feel like you have permission to really go out and be aggressive in attracting new people to the corridor who would better serve people who are in the LGBTQ community?
That's a really good question. I think when I started, I don't know that I would have felt as comfortable being my full authentic self and having to kind of, I don't know that there's a good or an easy way to say this, but kind of like tone down or try to be a little bit more, quote, passing or whatever term you want to use. However, I will say now, I really don't feel that way. Not that I can think of off the top of my head. I mean, when I came to you about this, Donna, you were very excited. You're like, let's make it happen. When I said, have we ever done a Pride event in the past? You're like, no, let's make it happen. And we're still working on planning that. We don't have all the details finalized. Otherwise, I'd announce it here. But stay tuned.
I think we have something really exciting planned, though.
Yeah. Okay. You want me to give a little?
Yeah, give a teaser.
Okay. So on June 30th, right at the end, we are going to have a showing of Moonlight. And what we're planning to do, we're still, again, working out the details, but we kind of want to do a hybrid drive-in movie concept back behind ECN's building. So we'll have space for, I don't know, maybe 40, 50 cars. And then, of course, some chairs for folks that walk, bike, or bus. Some snacks, ideally, LGBTQ themes, some like rainbow candy, maybe get some Better Made, Faygo bottled water, things like that. So that's the plan right now. Like I said, we're still working out the details, but I'm really excited and just being able to, help plan that event with staff and also,
There's a staff committee that's doing that, right?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
So.
And so, and I'm not on the committee, so I just hear by the by. But I'm excited about it. And, I do want to point out that today is June 22nd, just in case anybody is thinking that we have a whole lot of time to plan it.
Yes.
But I think we're real close to having something exciting, and it feels good doing that. I think for me, Phil, my final question for you is, LA is, as you pointed out, one of those communities where you already have so many things happening, and it is a welcoming community. Do you think there's a need and an opportunity to build that kind of arts community and in Detroit, so that the arts that are created can also incorporate people in Detroit who are more invisible here than perhaps they are in LA?
Yeah, I definitely want to utilize what I have going on to just have the Black LGBTQ arts more amplified in the city, because I know that in general, we barely have enough of us, or it's not as seen as visible enough, or just as acceptable. So I am committed to, I actually have this one project, and I can kind of give somewhat of a teaser of it, but it's a comedy that it's Afrofuturistic, and basically what I can just say is it's based in Afro-futuristic Detroit, and it kind of addresses the fact that Detroit is the blackest city in America, but also is known as one of the most homophobic because of how big, the church and everything is here. So I do have something that kind of is going to be addressing that. So I'm excited just to make things centered around it and be able to shine the light in that way, because it's definitely something that hasn't been done. So it needs to be done, because, people don't always know everything about Detroit, and in general, a lot of places in the world. But that's why it's good that we have things like Authentically Detroit and, just in general, whatever we do have coming out of Detroit, shining a light on, what the culture is like here. Because it is cool being the blackest city, but there's a lot of work that still has to be done.
And hopefully one day you'll say, I'm going to come back home and do some of that work.
Right.
Okay, that's the right answer.
Yes.
Well, I want to thank both of you. This has been really amazing having this conversation. I hope other people really are as enriched as I am. Before we close out, is there anything you'd like to say?
I would just like to say I really, really do love the LGBTQ community. It has been cool over the course of these past, I guess like 4 years now, getting to really immerse myself more and more. No matter where in the country, it feels like home. So, yeah, I'm just grateful for Pride Month and just for life.
Yeah, I would echo that. I guess I don't have any other particular words other than, thanks for making space for us to have this conversation, Donna and Orlando. And hopefully this is the first of many, not just on the podcast, but continuing to have this conversation on how we build and foster LGBTQ spaces on the east side of Detroit.
All right, I do have actually one more comment or question. I consider myself a proud black woman, descended from lines of proud black people going back to, plantations, right? We're proud. So when I hear people talk about racial tolerance, it's like, girl, I don't want you to tolerate me. Show some respect.
Right.
Tolerance is not respect. It's not inclusion, is it?
No, I think we have to go farther than that. Just like with racism, you can't just be not racist. You have to be actively anti-racist. So I think it's the same thing like that. You can't just tolerate people. You also have to, work towards respecting and accepting them. And, if we're truly trying to build a just and equitable and inclusive society, then that has to be, that respect and acceptance has to be the standard and not just like, it has to be the rule, not the exception.
Yeah, that's the bare minimum. And active advocacy would be like more so, where things should be. So the minimum is at least tolerating, and then where it should be, though, is, full advocacy.
I think the word should be is celebrating, right? I think all people, all cultures should be celebrated.
Exactly.
I think tolerance is, it seems like a minimum, but tolerance has a way of making people invisible and creating these hierarchies that, I tolerate you, but you're under me. And I think about where would the U.S. be without black people? We wouldn't eat the same food. We would not dress the same way. We would not have the same music. Then you got to ask yourself, where would the U.S. be without gay people?
Right.
Gay culture has really helped shape who we are as a society. And rather than, we imitate it. We take ballroom dancing and make it ours. We take ballrooming, rather, and make it ours. But why can't we just celebrate and understand that when people come together as equals with unique cultural perspectives, it makes a much more beautiful mosaic than when one color is drowned out by the other.
Right.
And so, with that, I stand not just in saying let's figure out how to be tolerant, but let's figure out how to celebrate, truly celebrate. And to me, that's why there's Pride Month, so we can all celebrate. So I'm going to try to make it out on Saturday with Philip, if he'll come with me to the WeGP Pride event, and try to show some solidarity. I know it's not going to be quite like what Philip is used to in LA. But we can show up.
I've only really been able to be in one LA Pride technically because of last year.
Right. But, I know it's not as cool, but it's still something. It's still Detroit. And let's give some of that, because I believe in celebration. I believe in joy. And that's one of the things that I really love about you in the workplace, Ian, is you bring joy. You
Thanks,
smile. You just are a positive person. And not just in the workplace here, but if for those who people don't know, when I told people I was hiring Ian, I was at this meeting and I got an ovation. I was like, well, he's not all that. No, I'm just joking.
I don't know this guy yet.
No, right, no, but and Philip, I know that's the point of your art, is that you bring joy.
Yes.
And Philip tries to make art that is positive. He's got this real positive outlook on life and trying to keep it lifted. And I certainly try to keep things light and positive also. So I really want to thank you. I want to celebrate you. And hopefully we'll be seeing everybody here who is listening and wanting to support on the 30th. We're probably going to want some donations there, but it's probably going to be free, right?
Yes, it'll be free.
We do things free, but we take donations. If you want to donate in advance, you can do that also. This wraps up, and this wraps up our Authentically Detroit today. Orlando had to leave early to celebrate his Emmy. Congratulations, Orlando. If you have topics that you want discussed on Authentically Detroit, you can hit us up on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Authentically Detroit, or email us at authenticallydetroit@gmail.com. So, shout outs in closing. I want to shout out all the fathers out there. We see you and we celebrate you. Mary Dupree, A Life Well Lived, prayers for Dupree and Presley family. Shay Whitfield, Andrew Coleman, and David Alade. We had a great show last week. We got so much positive feedback. Shay, I still had that celebrity thing because I just love Bargain Block. I want to celebrate every single person who showed up on Saturday for our Juneteenth celebration. But I want to call out a couple people. Jerry King from the A. Philip Randolph Institute, Rhonda Theus from the Canfield Consortium, and Michelle Jackson, our own Michelle Jackson, who's not only an employee here, is she the hardest working woman on the east side. She also operates Smallville Farms and is very involved in so many things in the community. And all three of them were members of the Neighborhood Advisory Council with Jerry King as chair. All three of them were members of the Neighborhood Advisory Council that worked to negotiate community benefits that have not yet been received from Fiat Chrysler and Stellantis. I also want to shout out our LEAP co-chairs, once again, hardworking Michelle Jackson and Edith Ford from Mack Development for being there. Our keynote speaker, the Honorable Reverend Dr. Joanne Watson, brought the house down on Saturday, as well as our State Senator Stephanie Chang and many others who showed up and just came and supported us. And then finally, the staff. The staff were amazing. And then finally, can I talk about Edric Goudet, Rafa Wright, and Jamon Booz? Well, first of all, the Taste of Diaspora in Detroit for an amazing event last Saturday. They had an amazing event last Saturday, but before they had their amazing event, Edric dropped off a delicious Taste of Diaspora meal for us. So, yes, I'm, and also Healing Between the Lines. I was really excited to be the keynote speaker, and the work that those medical students are doing to try to balance out or improve medical care for Black people by making sure that doctors are better prepared to be good at what they do and how they service is so important. I think most Black people have experiences at the doctor that make us not want to seek out medical care. Is there anybody you would like to shout out, Ian or Philip?
I just want to shout out all my friends and fam, here holding it down for me right now in the city. Yeah, literally everybody. I've had a great time with every single one of my friends and family I've hung with, so there's way too many to name. I don't want to leave anyone out, so I'm going to keep it general.
It always is upsetting when you get home and like, why didn't I forget them? What about you, Ian?
I want to call out in particular the whole ECN team, but in particular our Business and Economic Development Department, again, headed up by the amazing Angela Brown-Wilson, who, along with Donna, somehow manages to lead and guide our organization forward even through a global pandemic. So, and then our amazing interns, Ali, and we just brought on a new intern today, Chance, and then our business engagement coordinator, Minya Irby, who has been out on the corridor. If you haven't seen her, you will see her soon. She's doing a great job, and I'm so glad to work with all those amazing individuals. And then I also want to shout out my parents. I saw them this weekend, but in particular, this Friday is their wedding anniversary. So happy anniversary, Mom and Dad, 33 years. And thank you for always loving me and accepting me as I am, because not everyone can say that. So, and then, yeah, general shout out, friends, family, and all of the amazing listeners that have followed along this great journey of Authentically Detroit like I have. I'm excited for many more episodes. I'm a little nervous to listen to this one because, it's always kind of funny listening to yourself. But
I cannot stand listening to Authentically Detroit. When Kevin turns it on, I have to leave the room because I'm like, her voice is so annoying. Ugh.
I'm not gonna lie, I do not hate my voice.
Oh, you are very blessed.
yes.
So we'll see you all next time. Catch the wave.
It's always so funny when I hear people say that, because I used to feel like that, but now I'm at a point where I really don't mind.